All right, I'm back for the next Gren Twigs video. Last time I said we would update our application so that we could save this count that we have in our model to the browser's local storage. However, I sat down to make that video and realized that I should probably go on a little bit of a tangent. If you bear with me, I want to talk about custom types and types that hold data, because that will help us understand this concept of tasks and commands and how they interact with messages. So a custom type, we've already created a custom type. This message type here, it's just the type keyword followed by some name that we decide. You know, we could have called it anything. We called it message, which is typical for the Elm architecture. Followed by an equal sign, followed by these variants, which are the different types of message that we could receive in this case. And those variants are separated by bars. So we only have two. We could have more, but we have two. And it may look like an enum, right? It's some value that could be one of a handful of options. There's a little more to it than that. One of the things is that these variants can hold data. And I'm going to show you what that looks like in the Gren REPL by making a new type. I'm going to call it user. There's my equal sign, and I'm going to have two variants. I'm going to say a user can be an anonymous user. You know, when you first visit the site, you're not logged in, you're an anonymous user. Or you are logged in which case I want the user to hold a string. I'm going to use that to save the user's name. Now, when we type anonymous, we get a user. That makes sense. When we type logged in, we don't get a user, we get a function that takes a string and returns a user. And that is because you can think of these variants as constructor functions that create instances of this type. So anonymous doesn't have any associated data with it. It just returns a user. It's a function that doesn't take any, you can think of it as a function that doesn't take any parameters. Logged in, however, does take a parameter. It needs a string. When we give it that string, we call the logged in function with the string Justin, we get our user. Now, when you have custom types, you're almost always going to be doing something called pattern matching on those types. And that's what we're doing here. When we say when message is this variant, do this. When it's this variant, do this. The nice thing here too is Gren will make sure that you are using, that you're covering all your variants here. So if we went, you know, maybe we have some huge file and we went and we added a new variant, the Gren compiler will make sure everywhere we're pattern matching, we are handling that new AASDF message. We're not going to add that right now. So what does it look like if we pattern match on a custom type that holds data? To show that, I'm going to make a new function called greet. It takes a user and returns the greeting as a string. So greet with the user parameter, and we'll say when user is anonymous, we just return the string, please log in. When it's a logged in user, we have to give some name to that associated data. If we don't care about it, we can just call it underscore. We're not going to use it. But I do want to use it, so I'm going to call it name so that I can do this. I can say hello, and I know for sure that this is a string. Name. When I call greet with anonymous, I get please log in. And when I call it with a logged in user, logged in, I get hello Mary. So that's going to come into play when we start having tasks that have associated data with it or associated types with it. So remember when I call local storage.get, let's say I want to get the count from local storage. I get a task. When we tell the Gren runtime, hey, execute this task, we're also going to have to tell it what message we expect in response. And that message needs to be constructed in a way that it can hold either a web storage error, read error, in the case where our get fails, or a string in the case where our get succeeds. How do we do that? How do we create a variant that could hold more than one type of value? I will get to that in the next video. Thank you.